On the side table, we have a box of the worn parts that you can actually talk to customer about. This is a ring-shaped thing. It used to be a brake rotor, and the inside the part is all machined off by the seized caliper and just squeeze onto it. And eventually, it's machined off. That's the fins, the cooling fins in between the two of the plates on the brake rotors. So that's only have the ring left, or the other part we probably throw it out. And we have some like worn ball joints, so you can play with it. It's quite loose if you play with it. And that's just a sign that you should never be able to like press using the hand to turn a ball joint. It should be solid, hard, just turning by hand. And another example, we have a brake pads. It's probably not from this one, but that's the backing plate, that's the front. It shows all the braking material is all worn out. It's already on metal. So this metal is machining on the metal. Eventually, if you add emergency brake, it becomes so hot, it has glowing like a cherry hot red. And when you finally brakes, it's gonna just weld together, and then you will never be able to break the welds, and the car just stuck because you're applying the brake all the time. So the brake should never be worn into metal to metal, because metal to metal, it's a disaster. You're gonna weld it, and you're gonna lose your power to start driving again. And this is another ball joint. I just throw it in there. And this guy is the sway bar links. So when the cars are old, when you go over a speed bump, and you hear a clunk, usually that's a sway bar link. And again, it should never be so loose like I can just turn it by hands. Sway bar links is the one to balance the right height on both left and the right. So when you go through like the side of the speed bump on one of the wheel, it would also bring the car down on both sides because they're connected. So it takes a lot of abuse for the sway bar links. And another thing will be, this is a tie rod end. So this one is going to a steering racks. So this end, it was also pretty loose. Well, oh yeah, it is. You can just play it by hand. And again, for this part, you should never be able to turn by hand as well. This is the part you bolt onto a steering knuckle to help the car to steer. So if this thing becomes so loose, eventually it's gonna pop out. And we do have a customer actually pop out just right in front of the intersection here. And luckily we pushed her car into the shop and fixed it. And if you were on the road, all of a sudden this side pops out, then you couldn't even steer, because you steer the rack, but it's not attached to the wheel. So that's another important part. That's going to be something you can talk to the customer. And one funny story here, we have a couple of those, these are valve stems, as you can see, and it has a very pretty shiny like a metal cap on it. What happens is this is a brass metal, and the internal insert of the valve is also made of a brass. And also because metal on metal, or sometimes it's made of two different metals, you have a chemical reactions. It becomes like bonded so hard. So this customer has a low tire pressure, but he can never be able to like remove those funny caps anymore. It's really good looking, but it's just not functional. So end up have a 4 seized caps under his valve stems. What we have to do is just charge him like $120 to actually take every single wheel off and pull it out on these ones. Like I forgot how did I even just reduce the pressure on them, but I actually pulled them out manually and like put in the new valve stems with a plastic cap. So if you can make recommendations, tell customer always using plastic caps. Don't buy those fancy metal caps because they're going to seize up on there. That's a lesson. And if you in the future have some other funny parts or interesting things, you can just throw in there, and when people are interested, you can come here and talk to the people and give him a lesson or share some knowledge about it.